Good morning. I hereby call to order this fourth meeting of the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission for the year 2020, and I ask that you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Normally, I am just making some comments on our safety information that you will always find on the inside of our cover in case there is a need to evacuate this building. So please follow that information. But I also need to make some additional comments this morning. I think those of you that normally attend our public meeting have noticed that there's an unprecedented absence of PUC employees at this meeting. We've asked Commission staff to take advantage of our streaming capabilities to participate in this meeting online. Yesterday, as you may or may not know, the World Health Organization officially declared the situation with the coronavirus 19 as a pandemic. Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf, consistent with the recommendations from the Department of Health and the U.S. Centers for Disease Control, issued the following directives. International travel for official Commonwealth business is prohibited. All out-of-state travel for official Commonwealth business is prohibited unless determined to be mission critical by leadership. And all large meetings, conferences, trainings, and community events should be postponed or participated in virtually until further notice. We will follow these directives. The PUC is an independent state agency of the Commonwealth, but we are committed to following these public health directives from the Governor and the Department of Health and the Office of Administration. We ask you, as non-PUC employees, to reschedule or postpone visits to the Commission and, whenever possible, meet virtually by telephone or Skype with PUC staff. We ask also that you please monitor our website and public notices for future formats of our meetings and changes to our schedule. Your health and the health of our employees and the health and safety of the public at large, as the Governor says, are of the utmost importance. So I thank you very much. I also do want to note that Commissioner Andrew Place is on the phone and is participating in today's meeting telephonically.
Good morning.
Good morning. So our first matter on this morning's agenda is the approval of the minutes for February 6, 2020. And Vice Chairman, you are the editor of the minutes, so I recognize you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've reviewed the minutes of the public meeting of February 6, 2020, and move that they be approved as submitted.
You have heard the motion of Vice Chairman Sweet for the approval of the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Unora. On the minutes, is there any further additions or edits or discussion on it? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0. And now we will call upon our Secretary of the Commission, Rosemary Chiavetta, to lead us through this morning's agenda.
Good morning, Madam Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Your various bureaus and offices have prepared the following agenda for your consideration. Therefore, let us begin on page 1. It is recommended by Director Monahan in the Bureau of Audits that the Commission adopt in an omnibus motion both items on page 1 and release the audit reports of Duquesne Light and UGI Electric Division to the public.
Is there a motion to adopt the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Vice Chairman Sweet, second by Commissioner Coleman. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0.
Turning to page 2, it is recommended by Director Bechtel and the Bureau of Consumer Services that the Commission adopt the proposed order regarding the Customer Assistance Program final billing methods.
Is there a motion to adopt the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Place, second by Commissioner Unora. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0.
Turning to page 3 in matters presented by Director Sophie and the Office of Special Assistance, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the proposed opinion and order in the complaint of Adam Kessler versus the Pico Energy Company.
Is there a motion to adopt the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Coleman, second by Vice Chairman Sweet. Any discussion?
Chairman, I do have a motion on this matter.
Commissioner Coleman.
Thank you. I'd ask that my motion be entered in the record as though I read it in its entirety. Before the Commission for consideration are the exceptions of Adam Kessler to the initial decision, which dismissed Mr. Kessler's complaint against the Pico Energy Company. In his complaint, Mr. Kessler requested a payment arrangement. The ALJ dismissed the complaint for lack of jurisdiction because Mr. Kessler has an active Chapter 13 bankruptcy proceeding. In his exceptions, Mr. Kessler asserts that the bankruptcy proceeding has been discharged since the time of the hearing. Mr. Kessler did not supply any evidence to support this assertion. PICO, in its reply exceptions, disputes that the bankruptcy has been discharged. Based upon the review of the record and the exceptions and replies thereto, Mr. Kessler's exception should be denied and the ALJ's initial decision should be affirmed. As the complainant, Mr. Kessler bears the burden of proof in this proceeding. Mr. Kessler must prove that his bankruptcy has been discharged in order to be eligible for a payment arrangement from the Commission, but he has failed to do so. Mr. Kessler has not provided any new evidence related to the status of his bankruptcy proceeding. Since Mr. Kessler has not proved his bankruptcy has been discharged, the Commission does not have jurisdiction to consider a request for a payment arrangement. Mr. Kessler is free to request a payment arrangement when he has demonstrated that his bankruptcy has been discharged. Therefore, I move that the exceptions are denied, the ALJ's initial decision is affirmed, the formal complaint of Adam Kessler is dismissed, the Office of Special Assistance prepare an opinion and order consistent with this motion. Thank you.
You have heard the motion of Commissioner Coleman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Unora. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0. On the matter as amended by the motion, is there any objection to taking the previous roll call?
No objection.
Seeing or hearing no objection, the matter as amended passes 5-0.
It is recommended that the Commission adopt the proposed opinion and order in the complaint of Optatus Chala versus Verizon, Pennsylvania.
Is there a motion to adopt the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Vice Chairman Sweet, second by Commissioner Coleman. Any discussion?
Yes, I have a motion on the matter.
Commissioner Place.
Thank you very much. Madam Secretary, I'd like to have my motion placed into the record as if I'd read it in its entirety. Before us for disposition are the exceptions of Optatus Ciala, filed on September 12, 2019, to the initial decision of Administrative Law Judge Benjamin J. Myers that was issued on August 26, 2019. Reply exceptions were filed by Verizon Pennsylvania LLC on September 20, 2019. ALJ Myers ID denies and dismisses the formal complaint against Verizon PA in its entirety. I believe that the evidence in this case demonstrates the presence of substantive and recurring quality of service issues on Verizon PA's outside plant network that materially affected the services provided to the complainant for a rather lengthy time period. Consequently, the exceptions to the ID should be sustained in part. Furthermore, the disposition of certain issues in the formal complaint must be addressed consistent with existing Commission jurisdiction. The review of the evidentiary record and of the testimony offered by both complainant's witnesses and the Verizon PA witnesses, it is reasonable to conclude that Verizon PA provided inadequate, unreliable, and unreasonable telephone service to complainant for a period of 18 days during the February 22nd, May 11, 2019 time period, and for 39 days during the March 26, June 3, 2019 time period, for a total of 57 days. However, even without such a conclusion, the record evidence shows that the complainant met his burden of proof that, at a minimum, he experienced intermittent telephone service problems over a 3 to 4 month period in 2019 that rise to the level of inadequate and unreasonable service in violation of Section 1501 of the Public Utility Code. Because Verizon PA's telephone service during that period did not meet the statutory standards of Section 1501 of the Code, complainant's exceptions should be partially sustained, and Verizon should issue an appropriate bill credit to the complainant. Such credit shall be issued even if the telephone services provided by Verizon PA to the complainant are deemed to be a bundled package of services. Although the Commission does not regulate the rates and charges for the XDSL retail broadband internet access service provided by Verizon PA to the complainant, the Commission retains appropriate jurisdiction over the availability of XDSL. The Verizon PA outright network facilities outages and complainants' intermittent access to the XDSL service from the time the service was installed in February 2019 bring into question whether this retail broadband access service was truly, quote, available, unquote, for purposes of Section 3014B of the Code. Based on the testimony offered by the complainant and Verizon PA, the record evidence demonstrates that the XDSL service was not adequately and reliably available for a time period of at least 32 days after the service was installed. Consequently, complainant's exceptions should be partially sustained, and Verizon should issue an appropriate bill credit to the complainant for the XDSL service component. I wish to note that this determination does not intrude into the space of the regulation for the rates, terms, and conditions for the provision of XDSL retail broadband internet access services. Rather, this finding is made in order to determine a billing credit for service that was not provisioned in accordance with Section 3014B of the Code. I agree with the ultimate disposition of the invasion of privacy issue and the complainant's allegations regarding the creation of the, quote, Verizon Drive, unquote, in complainant's computer. However, I note that the Commission exercises appropriate oversight over the provision of telecommunications services and has its own confidentiality of customer communications and information regulations. Therefore, I believe that the Commission does not need to reach a conclusion whether it lacks jurisdiction under the factual circumstances of the present adjudication, because the complainant's personal computer is used to gain access to the Internet. I do not agree with the premise that the complainant exhibited a lack of cooperation in attempting to resolve the service outage and interruption issues that are present in the instant adjudication. The fact that the complainant, after first contacting Verizon PA, chose the Commission route to address his service problems should not make him uncooperative. Therefore, I believe that the complainant's exceptions in this regard should be sustained. Based on the evidentiary record in this case, I believe that Verizon PA provided inadequate and unreasonable telephone service to the complainant over a 3 to 4 month period in 2019 in violation of Section 1501 of the Code. Under the standards that we typically use to evaluate penalty amounts, I support a $2,000 civil penalty for this violation. Therefore, I move that 1. The complainant's exceptions relating to quality of service issues and appropriate billing credits be sustained in part consistent with this motion. 2. The initial decision of Administrative Law Judge Benjamin J. Myers be modified regarding the disposition of the alleged invasion of privacy issue in accordance with this motion. 3. The complainant's exceptions regarding the initial decision findings about lack of cooperation be sustained consistent with this motion. 4. The civil penalty of $2,000 be imposed on Verizon Pennsylvania LLC consistent with this motion. 5. The initial decision be affirmed in all other respects consistent with this motion. 6. The Office of Special Assistance prepare an opinion and order consistent with this motion. 7. The entered order in this proceeding be served upon the parties to the proceeding, the Office of Consumer Advocate, the Office of Small Business Advocate, and the Commission's Bureau of Investigation and Enforcement. 8. Verizon Pennsylvania LLC file with the Commission a letter communication at this docket stating the timing and the amount of billing credit that was issued to the complainant. And 9. Upon receipt of the Verizon Pennsylvania LLC letter communication on the timing and the amount of the billed credit to the complainant, this docket be marked closed. I also want to thank the telecom assistants from the offices of my colleagues who worked cooperatively to provide valuable input in framing the present motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Place. You have heard the motion of Commissioner Place. Is there a second?
Second.
I was going to say Commissioner Unora did second.
Oh.
It's a second by Commissioner Unora. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0. On the matter as amended, is there any objection to taking the previous roll call?
No objection.
Hearing and seeing no objection, the matter as amended passes 5-0.
Turning to page 4 in matters presented by Director Diskin in the Bureau of Technical Utility Services, it is recommended in an omnibus motion that the Commission adopt both items on page 4, beginning with the application of Talk America Services and ending with the application of Fidelis United Energy Solutions.
Is there a motion to adopt the staff recommendations?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Motion by Vice Chairman Sweet, second by Commissioner Coleman. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0.
Turning to page 5, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the proposed tentative implementation order regarding Act 129.
Is there a motion to adopt the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Vice Chairman Sweet, second by Commissioner Unora. Any discussion?
Yes, I have a statement on the matter.
Commissioner Place.
Thank you very much. Madam Secretary, I ask that my statement be placed into the record as if I'd read it in its entirety. Before us is the Act 129 Energy Efficiency and Conservation Program Phase 4 Tentative Implementation Order for the 5-year period June 1, 2021 through May 31, 2026. In this tentative order, the Commission provides initial guidance for comment by interested parties on a number of design elements and requirements. Consistent with this intent, I want to draw attention to a few matters for which I specifically request the parties provide additional comments. Table 3 of the tentative order lists the assumptions with regard to proposed acquisition costs used to estimate planned savings potential. This assumption plays an important role in electric distribution company specific savings requirements, as it imposes constraints on savings potential as a result of the 2% cap on EE&C program budgets. The average acquisition cost proposed is $271.01 per megawatt hour. Historically, the simple average of planned projected acquisition costs versus actual acquisition costs have been significantly less and declining. Given these variations in magnitude from the proposed costs, I welcome comment on the appropriateness of the proposed acquisition costs in Phase 4. Another critical design element is how Phase 3 actual savings in excess of Phase 3 savings requirements should be treated. Last year, such excess Phase 2 program year savings could be credited to Phase 3 requirements. In this treatment, we continued this year, if this treatment were continued this year, assuming similar rates of savings were achieved in the last 2 planning years as in the first 3 planning years, 4 EDCs would already have achieved from 49% to as high as 75% compliance with Phase 4 proposed requirements, without any savings attributable to Phase 4 activity. Given this potential outcome, I welcome comments on how to treat carryover savings activity from all or parts of Phase 3 to Phase 4, which ideally provides incentives to continue Phase 3 savings activity in planning years 11 and 12, while also providing incentives to meet and or exceed Phase 4 energy efficiency savings requirements. Lastly, in prior EE&C phases, the Commission has not required EDCs to bid the peak demand reductions of their EE&C plans into PJM's forward capacity market, but allowed EDCs the flexibility to voluntarily bid them in. The Commission proposes in Phase 4 that the EDCs be required to nominate at least a portion of the expected peak demand reductions of their E and C plans. The proceeds from resources that clear in the PJM FCM are to be used to reduce Act 129 surcharges and collections for customer classes from which the savings were acquired via the reconciliation of the over and under collections process. Any PJM deficiency charges for underperformance would be handled symmetrically with FCM proceeds and be borne by the relevant customer class. As a relatively new proposal, I welcome responsive comments on this change, including, but not limited to, a discussion on impacts to free ridership, impacts on the potential for capacity costs to be shifted to other customer classes, and net cost impacts to the entire EDC zone. I look forward to receiving comments on the pertinent topics implicated in the Act 129 Energy Efficiency and Conservation Plan Phase 4 so the Commission can render a comprehensive final implementation order in this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Place. I do also have comments to place on the record and ask that they be spread upon the record in their entirety as if I read them in their entirety. As you already noted, today the Commission votes on a tentative implementation order for Phase 4 of Act 129. This tentative order marks a significant milestone in the Phase 4 design process as it commences the process of establishing energy efficiency targets, establishing peak demand reduction targets, and setting program design. I wish to thank the dedicated Commission staff and the statewide evaluator team who have guided us to this point. They have already completed a significant amount of work to get us here. This work includes updating the technical resource manual, updating the total resource cost test, and conducting potential studies. The Commission's potential studies show continued opportunities for cost-effective electricity savings. Utilizing the permissible budget of Act 129, the tentative order depicts an achievable savings of 3.1% over the proposed 5-year period starting June 21st of 2021. Further, the projected total cost of $1.89 billion and benefits of $3.07 billion for Phase 4 results in a TRC calculation of 1.62 or $1.62 in savings for every $1 invested. The tentative order proposes that utilities design plans which provide more focus on comprehensive energy efficiency measures. This concept is a natural evolution from simple measures such as lighting to all-encompassing measures such as updating HVAC, weatherization, and water heating for a building. The tentative order maintains a carve-out for low-income customer programs, proposing that a minimum of 5.8% of total savings come from this sector. Conversely, the tentative order eliminates any carve-out for the government, nonprofit, and institutional entities. This sector shows robust participation in previous phases, so the proposal here eliminates what appears to be an unnecessary administrative component, but in no way eliminates the opportunity for this sector to participate in the program. The most significant change from Phase 3 is the proposal to achieve reductions in peak demand. I note Act 129 does not mandate demand response exclusively, but rather mandates reductions in peak demand if cost effective. Phase 3 utilized conventional dispatchable demand response to reduce peak demand. Here, the proposal is to utilize energy efficiency measures to reduce peak demand by 3.3% statewide. In support, the tentative order that the energy efficiency measures typically have multiple years of useful life so that their incremental demand reductions will continue beyond Phase 4 program. The tentative order also contends that energy efficiency is available every day of the year, whereas the dispatchable demand response is often limited to a number of events. Also, like demand response, demand reductions from energy efficiency can be recognized in PJM's capacity market. The tentative order shows that utilization of energy efficiency could potentially achieve 35 million, therefore 35 million more in net benefits in Phase 4 when compared with utilizing dispatchable demand response. Nonetheless, I am cognizant that this modification may eliminate the benefits certain individual large customers received under the Phase 3 design. To that end, I encourage stakeholders to file detailed comments to the tentative order regarding this change. In conclusion, I am pleased to be taking this important step towards Phase 4 of Act 129. The adage that the cheapest kilowatt is no kilowatt still holds true, as shown from the information provided in this tentative order. I look forward to reviewing the comments that will be filed. Are there any further comments or discussion on this motion? Hearing or seeing none?
Sorry, I would associate myself with your statement, Chairman. Thank you.
Hearing none or seeing none also, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0.
Continuing on page 5, it is recommended that the Commission adopt in an omnibus motion the application of PA American Wastewater and continue the omnibus to include the first two items on page 6, including ending with the filing by Ironton Telephone Company.
Is there a motion to adopt the staff recommendations?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Vice Chairman Sweet, second by Commissioner Unora. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0.
At the bottom of page 6, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the proposed order in the filing of Commonwealth Telephone Company, DBA Frontier Communications, and it is also recommended, turning to page 7, that the Commission also adopt the proposed order in the filing of Frontier Communications and its subsidiaries.
Is there a motion to adopt the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Place and second by Commissioner Unora. Under discussion, I do have, for both items under the omnibus vote, a recusal statement that I will place on the record in writing, and I will read for you. Consistent with Section 1102 of the Commonwealth Ethics Act, 65 PS Section 1102, I will recuse myself from this matter because my brother is employed by Frontier Communications. That recusal statement is for both matters under this motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes 4-0, noting my recusal on both matters before us.
Continuing on page 7, it is recommended that the Commission adopt in an omnibus motion the security certificate of Aqua, Pennsylvania, and continue the omnibus on page 8 to include all three items on page 8, ending with the security certificate of Peoples Natural Gas.
Is there a motion to adopt the staff recommendations?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Motion by Commissioner Unora, second by Commissioner Coleman. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0.
Turning to page 9, and matters presented by Chief Counsel Hicks and the Law Bureau, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the proposed order in the petition of the Duquesne Light Corporation.
Is there a motion to adopt the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Coleman, second by Vice Chairman Sweet. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0.
Turning to page 10, in matters presented by Chief A.L.J. Rainey and the Office of Administrative Law Judge, it is recommended that the Commission adopt A.L.J. Watson's initial decision in the complaint of Catherine Hubble versus the Duquesne Light Company.
Is there a motion to adopt the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Coleman, second by Commissioner Unora. Any discussion?
Madam Chair, I have a motion.
Vice Chairman Sweet.
Thank you. I ask that my motion be placed upon the record as if I had read it in its entirety. Before the Commission today is the initial decision of Administrative Law Judge Jeffrey Watson, which dismisses a smart meter complaint with prejudice after the complainant, Catherine Hubel, filed a petition to withdraw her complaint. Notwithstanding that this withdrawal was unopposed and therefore moot, ALJ Watson scheduled a pre-hearing conference for the laudable but probably unnecessary purpose of explaining the implications of the withdrawal to the complainant. But when Ms. Hubble did not attend, he dismissed the complaint with prejudice for failure to prosecute. As the withdrawal was not opposed and the smart meter had already been installed, it is appropriate to grant the petition to withdraw instead of dismissing the complaint with prejudice. Accordingly, I move that, number one, the initial decision of the ALJ issued in this matter be vacated. Two, that the petition to withdraw the complaint filed by Catherine E. Hubel in this matter is granted. And three, that the Office of Special Assistance shall prepare an order and an opinion consistent with this motion. Thank you.
You have heard the motion of Vice Chairman Sweet. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Unora. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0. On the matter as amended, is there any objection to taking the previous roll call?
No objection.
Hearing and seeing no objection, the matter as amended passes 5-0.
It is recommended that the Commission adopt Deputy Chief ALJ Cheskis's recommended decision in the tariff supplement filed by the City of Lancaster Wastewater.
Is there a motion to adopt staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Coleman, second by Commissioner Place. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0.
Turning to page 11, it is recommended that the Commission adopt ALJ Heap's initial decision in the complaint of Stacy Casaboon versus the Pico Energy Company.
Is there a motion to adopt staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Vice Chairman Sweet, second by Commissioner Unora. Any discussion?
Yes, I have a statement on the matter.
Commissioner Place.
Thank you very much. Madam Secretary, I ask that my statement be entered into the record as if I read it in its entirety. For us today for consideration is the initial decision of Administrative Law Judge Darlene Davis Heap dismissing the August 2019 complaint in the above-captioned matter. The complainant had alleged that the utility was threatening to shut off her services and that there was incorrect charges on her Pico Energy Company electric and gas service bills. In addition, she requested a payment arrangement. The ID denied a commission-issued payment arrangement on a non-customer assistance program portion of the complainant's arrearage. The ALJ reasoned that it would not be beneficial to the complainant because I'll start that sentence again. The ALJ reasoned that it would not be beneficial to the complainant because it would leave her with a large cap balance outstanding with the company. In addition, the ALJ cited the complainant's poor payment history as a basis for denying a commission-issued payment arrangement. The record in this proceeding indicates that the complainant has been a CAP participant for a significant period of time, from May 2015 through at least the time of the hearing with only one interruption. The company's Exhibit 4 indicates that Ms. Casaboon was re-enrolled on September 11, 2018 with monthly income of $1,244.59 for 2 adults and 1 child, which PICO notes is 71% of the federal poverty income guideline. This complainant indicated that she was not able to work for at least a year and a half as there were significant family medical issues that she was addressing. Although she had several company-issued payment arrangements, the record shows the complainant has not been issued a commission payment arrangement. Chapter 14 of of the Public Utility Code permits the Commission to exercise its discretion to establish a payment arrangement on the non-cap portion of the outstanding balance of a customer. Also, the Commission has exercised its discretion to issue payment arrangements on behalf of customers who have demonstrated some evidence of good faith effort to pay their utility bills or who have experienced a significant change in circumstances beyond their control. I believe that certain circumstances existed here, such as lack of income and a significant family medical situation, as noted, to mitigate the gravity of the complainant's less than positive payment history. When circumstances such as these exist, I would support the exercise of our discretion to establish a Commission-issued payment arrangement. Unfortunately, in the record before us, the Commission is unable to ascertain whether any of Ms. Casaubon's arrearages were non-cap related, and thus we are prohibited from exercising our discretion to issue a payment arrangement on cap arrears. I believe that the ALJ's reasoning is sound regarding the prohibition of a payment arrangement on cap arrears and would prefer this standard rather than the complainant's poor payment history as the standard for this denial in these troubling circumstances. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Place. Any further discussion?
Chairman, I just have a short verbal comment on this case.
Commissioner Coleman.
Thank you. These are the cases that remind us on a regular basis that these are the worst of the worst circumstances. A family that is in dire financial circumstances and is before this Commission looking for a payment arrangement that, quite frankly, I think the record evidence would indicate is not going to help the circumstance here. And I believe that the ALJ has reached the right conclusion based upon the facts in this case. I think it's important to put some context around this. I think we're all sympathetic to the situation, but also realize that the mission of this organization is an economic and reliability regulator, not as a social service organization. And I would implore those social service organizations to look into these kinds of situations. That it's, in my opinion, it's unfortunate that this case is before us, and that, in my opinion, I believe this is a indication that the social service agencies are not effective enough to be able to handle this type of a situation before it gets to us as a last resort option for this particular family. And I would also just mention that the payment arrangements of the Commission are to be a temporary fix, not a permanent fix. And so, as sympathetic as I am to Ms. Casaubon's situation, I think it's important to understand and recognize the constraints that this Commission has in these types of circumstances. So thank you, and I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Commissioner Coleman. Any further comments? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0.
And finally, on page 11, it is recommended that the Commission adopt ALJ Dunderdale's recommended decision in the petition of the Pennsylvania Power Company.
Is there a motion to adopt the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Second.
Motion by Vice Chairman Sweet, second by Commissioner Coleman. Any discussion? I do have statements for the record. I ask that my statement be spread upon the record as if I read it in its entirety. Before the Commission is recommended decision approving the settlement which permits Penn Power to increase its DISC cap from 5 to 7.5%. Section 1358 of the statute contains the standard for approval to waive the 5% DISC cap, stating that the Commission may, upon petition, grant a waiver of the 5% limit under this paragraph for a utility in order to ensure and maintain adequate, efficient, safe, reliable, and reasonable service. As evidence from this provision, the Commission is empowered with some discretion in its determinations on petitions to waive the 5% DISC customer protection cap. The Commission presently reviews each waiver filing on the merits of that specific case. Items which the Commission can evaluate to guide its decisions on such cases include, but are not limited to, when the company's existing tariff distribution rates were established, how often the company files base rate cases, the company's utilization of fully projected future test year, the company's utilization of the DISC, the company's DISC percentage, the existing state of the company's infrastructure as it relates to safety and reliability, the company's long-term infrastructure improvement plan, and the realized benefits to reliability and/or safety resulting from any waiver approval. In this proceeding, I focus on the existing state of the company's infrastructure and its LTIP. As the record indicates, the Commission reviewed Penn Power's first LTIP during its pendency and determined that the program was not designed to adequately maintain and improve efficiency, safety, adequacy, and reliability of Penn Power's distribution system. In support of this conclusion, the Commission noted that the reliability metrics for Penn Power, they noted the metrics for Penn Power. These metrics exhibited a failure to achieve benchmark reliability goals in 2016 and failure to achieve standard reliability goals in 2017 and 2018. Consequently, the Commission directed Penn Power to modify its LTIP, or LTIP 1, and to consider certain criteria when designing its next LTIP. These criteria included increasing the overall spend on infrastructure improvement initiatives and utilizing the full capacity of the DISC mechanism as capped at 5% by statute or otherwise capped by the Commission via waiver. Penn Power appears to have leveraged these Commission recommendations in subsequent modifications to its first LTIP and in design of its second LTIP. One before modification was originally designed with a projected expenditure total of $56 million over 5 years. In comparison, Penn Power's recently approved LTIP, or the second LTIP, projects expenditures of $72 million over the 5-year plan. The company avers that their second LTIP is designed in a more aggressive manner to increase the likelihood of achieving benchmark performance. The fact that Penn Power has experienced reliability problems and the company has increased the overall aggressiveness of its LTIP in response to a Commission directive warrants support of the settlement. The fact that the waiver will expire at the end of the second LTIP or at the establishment of new base rates, combined with the positive reliability gains that can be achieved by this waiver, convince me that the settlement is in the public interest. For these reasons, I will be supporting the approval of the recommended decision. Any further comments or discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0.
Madam Chairman and Commissioners, that concludes all agenda items to be considered today.
Before we adjourn our meeting, I do want to recognize Vice Chairman Sweet for some comments on Fix a Leak Week.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be brief on this subject, notwithstanding the fact that it's an important one. Starting next week, March 16th, there is National Fix a Leak Week. And as a member of NARUC's Committee on Water, I want to underscore the significance of this particular problem. Both the NARUC Committee and this Commission tend to focus on the leaks that are part of the provider system, with the large investor-owned or municipal water providers do, at varying degrees, have leak issues that cost them and customers significant expense. Here, the emphasis, though, is on consumers and small businesses who also have leaks in their own systems, and it amounts to a significant loss of water. And there's also a relationship here in the energy world. Somewhere it's estimated between 15 and 20% of the electricity used in this country is to push produce, pump water. And so any savings that could be made in terms of retaining useful potable water can, as it's backed out, really help in saving on electricity use. The easy-to-fix household leaks nationwide are estimated to waste nearly 1 trillion gallons of water per year. That's a lot. That's a lot. And according to the EPA, an estimated 10% of all homes have leaks that waste more than 10,000 gallons of water every year. And I'm told that's the same amount of water it takes to wash 300 loads of laundry. Households and small businesses should check their fixtures for leaks and consider the environmental and economic impact of wasted water. We encourage consumers also to check the PUC website and social media channels during the coming week for tips and information about simple things that can be done to identify and fix leaks that exist and to prevent them in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Sweets. And in that note, I do have someone come to fix a leak in my property today, so I thank you very much for that.
You were commended.
That's right. We have no further business before us, and without objection, we are adjourned.